oftentimes there's going to be this opportunity for you to sort of paint this picture of why you're writing. Why does this book need to exist? And so this element a little bit of kind of what you discovered, what you found, that forced you to take the consensus view is flawed. Everyone thinks this, but based on the process I've gone through, interviewing people, talking to people, my research that I've done, my own personal experiences, this one, I just don't think it's right. That idea here, and I have this data I'm going to show you throughout here. So this idea here of that you're frustrated that everyone thinks this sort of way. So I'll pick on Matthew and his concept about that you have to, his book is sort of going this direction of you can't find sort of true love until you sort of find self-love. That's the basic gist of what he's saying there. And so he starts with this premise that everyone's using more tools today, they're trying to do more things, and yet the world is so lonely. Right? And so this idea of making that case that the world is lonely and everyone thinks we need more tools, we need more meetups, we need whatever it is, and Matthew makes the case of, based on my research, that's wrong. Like, you're never going to find love, and sort of research backs this up, unless you love yourself. And so that's kind of this, again, the popular consensus view is flawed. And so that's kind of the key real thing you want to make. You want to start with a good story, you want to tell us the sort of state of the world, and to give us that sort of view, that common view, and then just punch it in the gut and say it's wrong. And why have you sort of come to this one, and why do you believe this is the case, and it's flawed, has these insignificant to it. So tell us why that consensus view is flawed, and what you've actually seen and learned along the way. Now this is those cases where part of the work we've been doing, the interviewing, the research you've done sets you up for this one. So you've set yourselves up to be able to succeed here. Remember, you don't have to have perfect, well-documented, published research. Oftentimes you'll back these places up, but based on the work I've done for the last year, I'm convinced the world is actually quite different. So some examples here, again, this is this idea here, this is from Catherine Shortsleeve. She talks about why she's doing this one. Again, she sort of said, this is to help women like me who want to be CEO and don't have role models. I want to show what these women who have succeeded as CEO did differently. So she tells her own view in that sort of way. In this case here, Cody talks about his own sort of experience as an enlisted officer leaving the military and feeling like he didn't have tools. So he talks about it, I felt as soon as I got out the door, I didn't have anyone to support me. And so this view that there's all these resources is just wrong because I didn't feel it. And lastly, sort of this idea from Franklin, we talked about the art of napping. He makes this case, is that all of these people are trying to solve work productivity, they're doing it wrong. Simplest thing, naps. If we forced more people to take naps and encouraged them to give resources to it, we would solve some of those problems. And then he lays out the case of what he found in his research in that regard. So again, it's a core thing to do just to make sure you can make that logic train. Again, here's the industry, here's what most people believe about it, here's why it's wrong, and here's why I've sort of gathered enough evidence to convince myself, and I want to convince you in that regard. So that's really the core here of this entire thing here, this idea of sort of why this tension's wrong, this book is really designed to help you solve that. So the second part really is that